You've probably stayed in one. A stranger's apartment, booked from your phone for a weekend away. It had a nicer kitchen than a hotel. It cost a little less. And somewhere, the person who owned it made a little money while you slept. That's the dream Airbnb sold to the entire world. Buy a place, list it online, and collect money while you do nothing. Passive income. Freedom. Millions of people believed it. In the United States alone, hosts and guests moved more than $90 billion through the platform in a single recent year. So here's the question. When you own one of these little rentals, where does the money actually go? And is it still the gold mine everyone was promised? Let's open the door. From the outside, an Airbnb looks like the easiest business on earth. You already own a place, or you buy one. You take some photos, you list it. Guests pay you. Simple. But that simplicity is a trap, because an Airbnb isn't really a rental, and it definitely isn't passive. What you've actually built is a tiny, one-room hotel. And running a hotel, even a small one, is a real job with real costs that almost nobody counts before they start. Let's start with the good part, the money coming in. An Airbnb makes money in a simple-looking way. The nightly rate times the number of nights it's booked. Charge $180 a night, fill 15 nights a month, and that's $2,700. And here's the pitch that hooked everyone. That same apartment, rented the boring way, one tenant, one lease, might only bring in $1,200 or $1,300 a month. So on paper, the short-term rental brings in 2 to 3 times more than a normal rental. Twice the money for the same 4 walls. Who wouldn't do that? But before that little machine earns a single dollar, it has to eat one big meal first. To turn an empty apartment into a place strangers will happily pay to sleep in, you have to furnish the entire thing. Beds, a sofa, a fully stocked kitchen, towels, a smart lock, a television, and decor nice enough for the photos. Done properly, that setup alone can run $10,000 to $30,000 up front before a single guest ever arrives. And that's on top of whatever you paid for the place itself. This is where most people stop calculating, and it's exactly where the story turns. Because that number, the money coming in, is not your profit. It's just the top of a very long slide, and almost everyone on that slide takes a piece before you do. Let's watch a single $100 booking travel down that slide. First, the platform. Airbnb takes its cut right off the top, often somewhere around 13 to 15% of the booking, once you count the fees on both sides. So before your money is even yours, a slice is gone. Next, the cleaner. Every single guest who leaves means a full turnover. New sheets, fresh towels, a scrubbed bathroom. In the US, that cleaning runs anywhere from about $65 to $175 every single stay. More guests means more cleaning. More cleaning means more cost. Then the little things that never end. Soap, coffee, toilet paper, shampoo, that welcome basket, broken glasses, a stained towel, a remote that vanishes. Restocking a place for strangers, over and over, quietly drains money all month. Then the bills that don't stop when the guests leave. The mortgage, property taxes, insurance, the special, more expensive kind, because a regular home policy often won't cover paying guests. Electricity, water, heat, and fast Wi-Fi, which guests treat as a human right. And if you don't want to do all of this yourself, a property manager will for 15 to 30% of your revenue. They handle the messages and the messes, and they take a very large bite to do it. Add all of that up, and something uncomfortable happens. Those operating costs eat, very roughly, 25 to 45% of everything the place earns before you've made a cent of profit. So let's go back to that exciting number, 2 to 3 times a normal rental. Once the platform, the cleaner, the supplies, the bills, and maybe a manager have each taken their slice, that huge gross advantage shrinks. After expenses, an Airbnb often nets only about 20 to 35% more than just renting the place out the boring, easy way. 20 to 35%. That's still more. But it is a very long way from twice the money for nothing. And that gap between what came in and what you keep is the whole story of this business. Let's do the honest math on one place for 1 month. Say it brings in $3,000 in bookings. A good month. The platform quietly takes its cut off the top. Cleaning, across all those stays, takes a few hundred more. Supplies and restocking, another bite. Then the mortgage, the taxes, and the special insurance take the biggest slices of all. Hand it to a manager, and by the time the dust settles, that exciting $3,000 might leave you with only a few hundred in your pocket. For a place you are personally on call for, 24 hours a day. And remember, that was a good month. Now, the part the brochure never mentions. The work. An Airbnb is not something you own. It's something you operate. The messages, at all hours. How do I find the place? The Wi-Fi won't connect. Can we check in early? The 5-star pressure, where one grumpy guest and one bad review can quietly sink your bookings for months. Coordinating cleaners between checkouts and check-ins, restocking, fixing the leaky faucet, handling the guest who threw a party. You are the front desk, the housekeeping manager, and the maintenance crew for a hotel with 1 room. Do the math on the hours, and a lot of hosts discover an unpleasant truth. They didn't buy passive income. They bought themselves a second job, one that sometimes pays less per hour than the job they already have. Some people try to skip the biggest cost entirely, the property. They rent an apartment long-term, then relist it on Airbnb for more, and pocket the difference. It's called arbitrage, and when it works, it looks clever. But now you're paying rent every single month whether guests show up or not, betting you can always keep it full, and hoping your landlord and your city never find out. It's the same business, with the thinnest margins and the shortest fuse. But let's say you don't mind the work. There's a bigger problem, and this one you don't control. Every host who succeeds sends a signal. There's money here. So more people buy places, and more apartments get listed. And a town only has so many travelers. Split the same visitors across more and more listings, and every calendar starts to get holes in it. Across the U.S., average occupancy has drifted down toward the 50% mark, meaning a typical place sits empty about half the nights of the year. An empty night doesn't just earn nothing. It still costs you the mortgage, the insurance, and the taxes. In this business, the enemy isn't a bad guest. It's an empty calendar, and the calendar never fills evenly. A beach town is packed in July and a ghost town in February. A ski cabin is the exact opposite. Most Airbnbs survive on a handful of good months that have to carry all the slow ones. And if those good months come in soft, even by a little, the whole year can quietly tip into the red. And then there's the risk that can end the whole thing overnight. with a single vote. Cities have noticed that when apartments become hotels, there are fewer homes for the people who actually live there, and rents go up, so they fight back. Permit rules, nightly caps, outright bans in some neighborhoods. You can do everything right. Great place, great reviews, full calendar, and a city council meeting you didn't attend can make your entire business illegal by morning. No other landlord faces a risk quite like that. Put all of it together, and you can see exactly how it ends for the ones who stretched too far. They bought at the top of the market. They furnished it on a credit card, and they counted on a full calendar to cover a very large mortgage. Then occupancy softened, or the city changed the rules, and suddenly, the place that was supposed to pay for itself is bleeding money every month, attached to a loan that does not care how many guests showed up. So who is actually winning here? Look closely, and you'll notice something. The host takes on the mortgage, the work, the empty nights, and the regulation risk. The host owns the asset and carries the danger. But the platform? Airbnb owns none of it. Not one apartment. Not one towel. It simply connects the guest and the host and takes its slice of every single booking in every city all over the world at almost no cost to itself. Millions of hosts do the hard, risky, physical work, and the company that owns nothing quietly collects a piece of all of it. That is the real passive income in this story. And it was never the person who bought the apartment. So, is owning an Airbnb still worth it? Sometimes, genuinely, yes. In the right location, with a place that stands out, run by someone who treats it like the real business it is, an Airbnb can still make good money. The best operators, after all their costs, still clear tens of thousands a year. But for a lot of people, the honest answer is different. They bought a story about doing nothing and got a hotel, a job, and a bet on their city's next zoning vote. The guest's money is real, but watch where it goes. It passes through the platform, the cleaner, the supply closet, the utility company, the manager, and the tax collector, and only what survives all of that ever reaches the owner. So the next time you book a cozy little place from your phone, remember what you're really looking at. It isn't passive income. It's someone's second job wrapped in nice photos. And the only one in the whole arrangement earning money in their sleep is the app you booked it on.